Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. Today we're diving into something super fascinating. We're going to completely deconstruct this really intense, dramatic narrative and map out a high schooler's psychological journey. We're following a girl named Helen, and we're going to watch her go from being completely invisible to absolutely intoxicated by unchecked power, to finding herself in utter isolation, and then finally reaching this unexpected redemption. It's not just your standard high school drama, it's a really profound look at the actual mechanics of power and identity.
So, right off the bat, I want you to consider this central question. What actually happens when you get everything you ever wanted, but you didn't earn any of it? Helen's story hooks us instantly because, well, it plays on this totally universal fantasy, right? Suddenly having status, popularity, complete control. But the narrative brilliantly exposes the extreme danger of that sudden, unearned status. It really forces us to ask what kind of heavy toll it takes on our true, authentic selves when we put on a mask of absolute power.
To understand the massive fall Helen takes, we've got to look at where she begins. Section 1. The Invisible Girl. Helen's starting point. Picture this. Helen is a high school junior who basically her entire life has felt completely overlooked, just background noise. And you have to contrast her with her younger sister, Lucy. Lucy is, well, she's everything Helen isn't. She naturally draws attention, she's beautiful, and she has a ridiculously high IQ. Now, Helen loves her sister, for sure, but living in that shadow creates this deep-seated, desperate desire just to be noticed. And it's exactly this emotional void that makes Helen the perfect, most vulnerable target for the corruption that's about to hit her life.
Which brings us to the catalyst of our story, Section 2, The Magic Necklace, a Mysterious Gift.
Out of nowhere, this silver wrap package arrives on Helen's porch. No return address. Inside, a dark velvet pouch with a delicate diamond necklace. And accompanying that necklace was a note with a really tempting promise. It read, "For as long as you wear this necklace, true love will find you." Sounds like a total fairy tale, right? But the second Helen puts it on, it doesn't feel comforting. It feels like it's claiming her identity. It immediately starts altering her reality, warping the whole world around her to feed that deep insecurity we were just talking about. And you guys, the escalation is incredibly rapid. Within a single day, the school's social ecosystem is just entirely overthrown by this artifact. Check this out. In the morning, the so-called queens of the school, who usually pretend she doesn't exist, are fawning all over her. By first period, a notoriously difficult teacher is praising her in front of the whole class. Lunchtime hits, and students are literally fighting for a seat near her. By evening, her phone is just flooding with calls and new followers. The necklace establishes absolute power in less than 24 hours. Boom!
And that leads us right into Section 3, Intoxicated by Power, the ultimate accessory. Helen doesn't just enjoy the attention, she gets completely drunk on it. Enter Edward. He's the mysterious, super wealthy European new student who speaks 5 languages. And he doesn't just date Helen, he becomes the ultimate accessory to her newfound power. He introduces her to this incredibly lavish lifestyle that just brilliantly illustrates how untouchable she's become. Step 1, he's physically intimidating teachers when Helen gets caught cheating, and she gets away with it. Step 2, he's showering her with Swiss chocolates and designer gifts. Next, she's being chauffeured in luxury cars with doors that open themselves. And finally, she's hosting these exclusive parties at rooftop jazz lounges. Helen is no longer just noticed. She is cemented as this arrogant, untouchable high school goddess.
But here is where the narrative really pulls back the curtain on the true psychological cost. Look at where her focus actually goes. Only 10% of her energy is on Edward, the guy she's supposedly dating. 15% goes to partying. A massive 75% of her energy is completely consumed by wielding her power to dominate others and plotting petty revenge against her sister Lucy and her former crush, Alan. The corruption has fully taken hold. She went from just wanting to be seen to actively wanting to crush the people around her. It's wild.
So you got to ask yourself a terrifying question here. Who is really driving the bus? Helen or the necklace? Because the illusion of control is starting to shatter. The turning point happens at a 5 a.m. party. Her desperate, worried parents show up with the police because her sister Lucy is actually in the hospital. And what does Helen do? To save face in front of her new friends and maintain her party lifestyle, she falsely accuses her parents of abuse to the police, right then and there. It's just a totally dark, spiraling moment where it becomes glaringly obvious that Helen is losing her humanity.
That downward spiral takes us to Section 4, The Witch's Secret, the source of magic.
The truth is finally revealed when Helen finds a dropped business card from Edward's pocket. It leads her directly to a witch. Helen goes to see her, wanting to understand the mechanics of this so-called gift, and the witch drops a massive bombshell. The necklace? Not a love potion. It was never creating love at all. It's actually a personality amplifier intertwined with a power element. It adapts to the wearer's specific psychological makeup to make them unstoppable. For Helen, it took her deepest insecurities and just amplified her darkest traits, her latent cruelty and her suppressed craving for dominance.
The witch then hits her with this extremely stark warning. She says, "The truth is, neither of us control it now. I honestly don't know who's in charge, you or the necklace." Edward thought he could buy Helen's affection, but he got completely scammed. He has no control over it, the witch can't stop it, and Helen's belief that she's the master of her domain is totally shattered. It's such a brilliant, dramatic twist. Absolute power has quite literally made her an absolute prisoner. The inevitable fallout of that amplified, corrupted personality brings us to Section 5, total isolation, a prisoner of power. Helen pushed everyone away to protect her power, and the universe spectacularly grants her wish to be completely alone. A brutal sequence of events unfold. Her sister Lucy officially cuts ties with her. Her parents, entirely broken by her false police accusations, side with Lucy. Edward, her supposed source of power, completely vanishes when his family's mansion is seized. The students who worshipped her, they now literally run away in sheer terror after she physically attacks Alan in the hallway. And the most terrifying part of all this, when she finally tries to take the necklace off, it physically tightens around her throat like a trap. No way out. It leads to this truly heartbreaking moment of clarity at a hospital. Helen is begging the nurses to rip the necklace from her skin. She suddenly realizes the grim irony of that original note. She says, "Love's running away from me now. I'm alone." She realizes she pushed everyone away on purpose, and now she's helplessly trapped by the exact magic she wished for. Which brings us to the climax of the whole narrative. Section 6, the power of empathy. A profound resolution. Helen runs out of the hospital into the pouring rain. She collapses. She's entirely broken, just screaming at the sky that she wants to be invisible again. Because, hey, at least when she was invisible, her sister was with her. And right then, the very sister she tormented, Lucy, steps out of the rain. Lucy offers this incredible moment of profound empathy. She tells her, sometimes our worst enemy isn't someone else. It's the version of ourselves we believe we have to become. Lucy realizes that Helen isn't truly an evil villain. She's a victim of her own paralyzing fear, her greed, and her deep loneliness. Lucy sees right past the magical monster Helen became, down to the scared, invisible girl she always was. And here's the kicker. The moment Helen experiences genuine connection, the moment she is truly understood and forgiven by someone who actually cares about her, instead of just being worshipped by sycophants, the curse breaks. The necklace simply slips off her throat. Empathy straight up defeats absolute power. So I'm going to leave you with a final, lingering question to think about. Is being truly seen really about having everyone's attention, or is it simply being understood by someone who cares? Helen thought visibility meant power, fear, and a ton of followers. But she learned the absolute hardest way, that a million eyes on you means nothing if none of them actually see who you really are. Thanks so much for following along with this explainer, and I really hope this changes how you think about power, status, and what it actually means to be seen. Catch you next time.